Hi, everyone. If you're new here, my name is Lakenda, and welcome to Growing with Lakenda. Today, I want to share a personal part of my journey, why I moved from New York City to Charlotte, North Carolina 3 years ago, and what that decision has meant for my mental health, my lifestyle, and my growth. Now, let me be clear. This video isn't about bashing New York City. New York City will always be a part of who I am, and it will always be in my heart. It made me who I am today. I'm just simply sharing how I've learned to listen to myself and choose a different pace. I've lived in New York City all of my life. I'm talking about being born and raised there. Never lived anywhere else until I got the courage to move. As an adult, living in New York City did work for me for a while, but just not for a very long time. At some point, I noticed that my anxiety started to increase, and I spoke to my therapist about this at the time. We believe it was the crowdedness, the constant congestion, the fast pace of life. Never really slows down. It's just fast, everything. Everything felt urgent all the time. Way too many demands to hang out, to be everywhere, to do everything. And that was exciting sometimes, but then it became overwhelming for me at some point. I found myself trying to focus on all my goals while trying to meet the demands of everything around me, but I wasn't actually meeting my goals. There were so many distractions, so much noise, so many expectations, as I said before. Even simple things like the transportation started to feel stressful. It often felt unclean, chaotic, and draining. And then the winters. The winters are very long, cold, and I don't like the cold. I don't like the snow, even though Charlotte just had a big snowstorm, but they don't get them too often. But at some point, I had to be honest with myself. Not that I was running away, it's just that my environment wasn't supporting who I wanted to become. I started to realize that my nervous system was constantly overwhelmed. And this is a conversation that me and my therapist had for weeks. I was always in survival mode, the rushing, the reacting, the pushing. If you're from New York City, you know what I mean by survival mode. And I reached a point where I knew something had to change. Not because New York City is a bad place, not at all, but because peace was starting to matter to me more than the stimulation of it all. I didn't want to just survive my days. I wanted to actually live them. When I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, I wasn't running away from New York City. I was moving more towards clarity. I wanted more space, mentally and physically. I wanted a slower pace of life. It's nothing wrong with that. I wanted room to think and breathe and to reset. Charlotte felt like a place where I could focus on who I wanted to become, where life didn't demand everything from me all at once. Another important part of my decision was family. My father has lived here over 20 years. My grandmother, as well, his mom, lived here longer than he had. But she passed away 2 years ago. God bless her soul. And I also have siblings here and a large family here from my father's side of the family. So I wasn't moving somewhere where I was completely alone. Growing up, I grew up around my mom's side of the family. I'm closer to them. I grew up around them. And moving to Charlotte gave me the opportunity to build stronger relationships with my father's side of the family. They are important too. They matter to me. It felt more of like an alignment, right? Not just with my lifestyle, but with my roots. After living here for 3 years, there are so many things that I really appreciate. Life just feels slower, more manageable. There's less congestion and constant noise. My anxiety became easier to manage. It didn't disappear, but it's just much more easier because my environment is much more calm. There's more space, physically and mentally, more balance between work and rest. I rest a lot. It's easier to say no, and it's easy to protect my time. The winters are much more milder and transportation is simpler, right? And life just feels more intentional. So Charlotte gave me room to breathe. Now, of course, no place is perfect. Charlotte is smaller than New York City. There's less spontaneous cultural energy out here. Though we have buses and a train, you usually need a car to get around. And if you're used to constant stimulation, it can feel slow. And sometimes I do miss the diversity and energy of New York City, but I do value the peace that I have. Every city has its trade offs, and it's important to be honest about that. What this move has taught me is that your environment does matter. Peace is not something that you earn after a burnout. It's something that you choose. Moving didn't make my life perfect. I wasn't looking for perfection, but it gave me clarity. I learned that growth doesn't always have to look like doing more. Sometimes it looks like doing less intentionally. I didn't move to Charlotte to become someone else. I moved to become myself. If you're watching this and you feel overwhelmed or anxious or stuck, this isn't me telling you to move cities. It's just me encouraging you to listen to yourself. Listen to that inner voice. Sometimes the change you need isn't about trying harder. It's about choosing an environment that supports you. Okay? Think about that. 3 years later, here I am. I don't regret choosing the peace at all. The best decision I've ever made. If this resonated with you, I would love for you to subscribe and grow with me. Until next time, thank you for being here.